gentlemen, to a very special episode of High Low Sports Podcast. It's just me today. It's just Kelcey. But don't worry, we do have a special guest, so you won't have to hear my boring voice for the entire 45 minutes. But that's okay. Before we get to that, though, guys, we have some special news to announce. We did just get some brand new sponsorships. We sent a shout out to Dr. Squatch Soap Company. If you guys haven't checked them out yet, be sure to check them out. They are raising the bar for men showering. Change the way men approach hygiene by providing natural, healthy products that make you feel like a man and smell like a champion. Dude, you got to check it out. Link's in our bio, linktree.com. Just click on our Twitter page. You just go right to the link and check out your subscription today. You can order a whole bunch of different packages. It's amazing. Smells amazing as well. And then the other one, craftbeerclub.com. If you guys haven't checked them out, this obviously is a 21 plus product. So if you're under 21, ignore this one and just keep on moving on in the episode. But this craft beer club, it's a beer of the month club. So basically, they search out the best craft beers from around the country and send it to your doorstep. Sign up for a monthly package, just like you would BarkBox for your dogs, but craft beer for you. So why not? Be sure to check that out, Linktree as well for that one. But now to the important part of the episode, the fun part, the one I'm the most excited for. Our very first interview guest on the show, and one that I've actually been trying to figure out a way to get him on the show for pretty much since we started this, and it's like 2.5 years later, and I finally figured out how we're going to do it. And by that, I mean, he literally hit me up and said, hey, coming on your show. We're doing this. So Brennan McFadden, for those who don't know, former Utah State University offensive lineman. I'm just going to call you offensive lineman because you did play all three positions. Started 24 total career games, all WAC considerations your junior and senior year. Correct. And then, you did play with some fantastic players. And you also, I'd say you maybe helped kick off some of the most fantastic Utah State years they had. I mean, you look at it in your 2009 year, top 15 marks in 14 different categories offensively. So fantastic work. I mean, it was something that they'd never seen before. You guys put up the most yards since 1974. I mean, and you anchored that. You were the dead center in the middle. You were the center. So Brennan, I mean, first of all, thank you for coming on, man. This is fantastic. If you guys don't know, Brennan is a cousin of mine. Technically second cousin, but we call him cousin. We're we're close to the same age.
We're the type of family that's got a really, really big family, and so first cousins are second cousins are third cousins. He's just my cousin.
Exactly. Yeah. At the end of the day, we are just family. At the end of the day, we're Irish family. It's our parents had too much fun.
We are Irish. We like to have some fun.
But man, it's great to have you on. Nowadays, you are sitting here coaching River Valley. The hat. Kids will be able to see the hat on YouTube. River Valley High School over in Yuba City, California. You've been coaching there since 2014, head coach since 2014. Yep. And you guys have only missed the playoffs once.
Yep.
And so, how's that feel going from playing to coaching now?
Oh, it was honestly a seamless transition for me. When a lot of athletes, when they're done, they don't know what to do, but they've just done sports their whole lives, and it was an easy transition to me to get into a profession where I can still have football part of my life, and not just sometimes. It's every day with my kids in football PE. We're working out, we're repping plays, so I got football in my mind every day still, and that's what I needed. I needed that.
Exactly, and you guys are about to actually kick off your workouts for the off season today.
Yes.
How's that feel for you? Finally getting back into it through COVID.
I'm sure I'll have a whole bunch of high school kids that might be a little out of shape, but it's been weird. Sorry, the lights just went off. It's been weird. Usually we start the whole summer is our busy time, and then once school kicks off in August and September, we're rocking and rolling. The state of California, we haven't played any games yet, so I really hope we can. I feel for these seniors. They've been working hard. Obviously we haven't been able to be there with them, but they've been working out on their own. And so today we get to see really how much they really have been working out. So I'll be able to tell very quickly, probably after the warm up, who's been working out and who hasn't been.
Yeah. Any of you kids listening to this today, don't feel bad if you're out of shape. I'm still out of shape. I mean, I feel their pain. I remember off-season practice were always the worst. Yep. Coming back finally after everything. But kind of switch gears, we talked about your football playing career. You also played basketball in high school. Some interviews you said that is your first love. I don't know if
it still is, to be honest.
Yeah, still is. So I don't know how much you followed what just happened today.
But I feel like four teamer. Yeah, right before I got online, I had to switch my FanDuel lineup for the night because Brooklyn's got all these guys out now.
Yeah, no, I literally just my phone blew up right as you were as we were talking about you getting online, and I feel remiss if I didn't ask you, as a basketball guy, what do you think about this 8 picks for one player plus multiple other players going?
Well, I honestly think, like I said, I'm a diehard sports fan, and I've been watching the NBA pretty closely the last 4 or 5 years. I think the Rockets got a great deal. I think honestly though, I think another winner in this trade is Indiana. I think Karis LeVert is the real deal. He's
Absolutely.
just had to be behind, some studs in
Yeah.
New Jersey for the last couple of years. But I think people have seen when other guys are out and he's just been the guy on a certain night, he can put up 35, 7 and 7 like it's nothing. So,
Yeah.
but the Rockets, they got Victor Oladipo, they got a whole bunch of picks. And I think they did a good job of starting that rebuild, kind of like New Orleans did when they traded Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Sometimes a rebuild, like my Sacramento Kings, it takes about 10 years to get going. But
Don't
New
worry,
Orleans was able to do the rebuild overnight. You know what I'm saying? And
oh
I
yeah.
think that's probably going to happen with Houston as well.
Yeah, if anybody's been listening for a long time on this podcast, they've heard me rant and rave about how the Kings are constantly rebuilding at this point in time and
Oh,
have been
yeah.
since 2002. It feels like.
Yeah, every year's a rebuild.
so shifting back to your playing career, you were a 2-star recruit coming out of high school. Nevada Union, which there's nothing to slouch about by all means. I mean, look, I would have came out as a 0-star recruit, so
Yeah.
that's something to consider. And you were one of the better players in Northern California, and you got how many offers did you get? Like, what was that recruiting process for you like?
My recruiting process was actually pretty crazy because going into my senior year, I had a lot of schools that liked me. I hadn't had really that many offers, and then after about my second game, I had up to 4 or 5 offers from Division I programs: Sac State, UC Davis, Fresno. Who else was it? Colorado and Utah State. And then week 4, I broke my leg, and all those offers went off the table except for Utah State. They stayed with me the entire time, and so the recruiting process. And I'm a coach now, and I just had 2 guys that like, a couple of years ago that went Division I. I've had like 4 or 5 guys total go out, and they're lucky just to have me because, and I'm not trying to gloat or anything like that, but the recruiting process is ruthless. So for them to me to be right there with them, and then when you have a college coach that comes in and they know me, they know that I know how it works, they're not going to give me the runaround. They're going to be straight up honest with me, along with that recruit, along with their parents, and let them know, because as you know, I don't know how to say it, it's like a meat market. They love you one day until another guy that really, really likes says yes, then they don't like you at all. So
yeah, definitely, and that has been a big problem, especially nowadays. You see it all the time with these kids transferring and in the transfer portal at the next year.
Yeah.
As an Auburn fan, I see it all the time with kids. They just got a new coach, and everybody's out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the transfer portal. I think kiddos now. When I was in college, I played 2005 to 2010. When adversity hit, when something didn't go right, what did I have to do? Work through it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's so many transfers. A kid's not playing, he doesn't like the coach. Oh, I'm going to transfer. Where I just think it's too easy for them to just go away from adversity. Where when I was there, we didn't have that many transfers because that was the offer that you got. You didn't know if you were going to get another offer, if you went to a JC route or something. So whatever was going on at that program, you had to hunker down, fight through that adversity, and hopefully become better after that. But the transfer portal, obviously, for crazy circumstances, you have emergencies in the family, they need to get back here. I get that. That's perfect. But just because a coach coached you hard one day and you got your feelings hurt, now you want to transfer, I don't think that's, and that's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of, I'm lucky enough to have some good buddies that are coaching at Division I level, and they've told me literally some of their players that have transferred and for what reasons, and that was a everyday thing for me at Utah State, and now here they are transferring.
Yeah, exactly. Your time at Utah State, you had some fantastic coaches there. I mean, you look back at it. What do you think was kind of that moment where you talk about buckling down? What was that moment where you had a coach just kind of just rip you a new one, for lack of a better term, and you were just like,
I can remember
crap, I gotta get it together.
So I had 2 head coaches at Utah State. I had Brent and Guy for my first 3 years. And my last 2 years, I had Coach Gary Anderson, who took over for Utah State. And then that's when we went on the rise. But under Coach Guy, who recruited me to Utah State out of high school, my offensive line coach was a guy by the name of Vance Vice. And he is now the O-line coach at Virginia Tech. And he played He's a Southern guy. He played at Oklahoma State when Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas were there.
Okay.
And if you've heard the definition, old school, that's him to a T. So here comes this blonde hair, blue eye guy from Northern California, and I go meet, and he's a phenomenal guy. I mean, he's amazing. I love him. We still have a relationship to this day. But the old saying that he turned me from a boy into a man, about my first week there, I was blocking some D lineman, and I put him on his butt, and he was like an older guy. He was like a sophomore or junior, and I was only been there for like 2 weeks. And I turned around, was walking back, and the guy cheap shot at me, pushed me in the back, and I didn't fight the guy. And Coach Weiss was not happy that I didn't stick up for myself. Okay. And so after practice, he asked me to come. We're going to talk, and he basically broke it down that I'm a very good football player, but if you're nice, you're not going to make it at this level. And so it wasn't that nicely put to me. There's a lot of four-letter words coming at me. But that was basically where it was okay. Like, I got to do stuff differently at this level.
Yeah. And, you talk about that your first year there, you had, you were a blocking tight end that first year, right? Is technically what they listed you as.
I played tight end in high school. I was 6'2.5", 260 from high school, and I was a blocking tight end. I got to Utah State. I think I was there 2 practices, and they said, all right, you're gonna go get fitted for these things called knee braces. And I was like, okay, whatever, yeah, I got you. And they transitioned me from tight end to center, and actually it was very easy. I became a slow tight end, and then all of a sudden I was a really athletic center, just like that.
Okay.
I had to gain the weight, obviously. I had to gain 20 or 30 pounds to play at that weight, to play center. But, I was a tight end for all of literally, I think, like 4 total practices.
Was that one of those practices where you were a tight end that he ripped you a new one?
No.
So it was right after the.
That was the tight ends coach wasn't as vocal as the O-line coach, to say the least.
Okay, so I was wondering if it was the before or after movement that he got you on.
I was there. I became one of their guys, and I was, like I said, I was still kind of in that tight end mode, and I was only 265 pounds at the time, redshirting, but we had one of my teammates at the time was named Donald Penn. He played in the NFL for like 10, 12 years. He was 6'6", 320, and he was very mean on the field. And here I am. Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? And so to play in the trenches, I was still a young man, not an old boy, young man, but to play Division I trenches, play O-line or D-line at Division I level, I had to change my mindset. I had to attack it differently. I had to have a mental approach that I've never had before in high school, because I was just always bigger and stronger than everyone, and I could get away with it, but not at that level.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, D1 is a different ballgame, and you mentioned some of that recruiting and how your kids now have that benefit of having but beside them for these D1 and it being a meat market. What's your thought on this whole D1 or bust movement that's going through for kids nowadays? And even when you're playing, like how did you feel about that when you were getting recruited and they were D1s, but they were?
Say when I was a young, naive freshman, sophomore, and junior in high school, I only wanted to go D1. I'm not going to go D2, D3. And that's the worst thing that you can ever think, because first and foremost, you turn on the TV right now on Sundays, every team has a guy from a Division II. Every team has a Division III. Everyone has them. They're there. Yeah. But more importantly, now that I'm looking back, whatever you got, whatever your ticket is, whatever avenue you can do to get your degree and to further your life and better yourself, it doesn't matter if it's D1, D2, D3. If you love the game of football and they're going to pay you to play football, you better take that, because you're going to love it no matter what. You get free education, you get to play the game you love, and you're going to make memories that'll last a lifetime. Unfortunately, obviously D1's the only thing we see on TV. You know what I'm saying? I think if the media put a lot better emphasis in Division II and Division, because there's some really good, there's some Division II, Division III programs that got 10, 12, 15,000 stadiums that sell them out every home game, and it's a great atmosphere. And so, if you love football and you only think you only want to play D1, then you really don't love football. If you only say you're going to play D1, that's what I tell my boys. If you love the game of football, you will never say I'm only playing D1.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm 100% in agreement with you. I visited Montana, a couple times, and then seeing their stadium, especially when they played somebody like North Dakota State, it's like a 23,000 plus stadium, and they're putting in 30,000 standing room only, and it's louder than an SEC school. So yeah, it's that's sort of the love of the game. And it's funny you
Sure.
mentioned that. What do you think? I guess what in your opinion, what's your thoughts that like expanding the playoff? You think that would actually help anything for
I
like a
do.
Utah State or?
I think it'll help this. It'll help the Cincinnati's of the world like this year. I don't get me wrong. I love college football. I love football. But I mean, the last 4 or 5 years, I can tell you tomorrow who's going to be in the Final Four next year: Clemson,
Yeah.
Ohio State, Bama, and Notre Dame. Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully they expand it because you got to have there's those teams from 5 to 10 are just as good. And I think if there's a Cincinnati, they lost to Georgia by 2 points in the bowl game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I would have loved to see Cincinnati play Notre Dame this year and see what would happen.
Yeah, that would have been a great game. I think we both grew up Notre Dame fans, and
Yep.
that's just kind of our family. It was like just kind of our family how we had to do it, and I think we both could admit that Notre Dame probably would not have stood a chance against Cincinnati this year. It would have been a fun
agree with
one.
that. Yeah.
But so you played obviously with a lot of guys that did end up in the NFL or at least got some practice squad. I say a lot of guys, but it's probably like under 10. But you mentioned Donald Penn as one. Who are some of the other guys? I know you've told me, but just so the listeners out there know.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the biggest name that I got really, really close with. He was my roommate for a couple years. He was my teammate for 4 years. He's only 1 year younger than me, and we have a good relationship still to this day. Is Bobby Wagner, the middle linebacker for the Seahawks. They just lost. But I was watching the game last week, and at halftime he had 9 tackles, a sack, and 2 tackles for losses. And that's him. He just got nominated to his 6th All-Pro. Love him to death. Great human being. He's a good football player, he's a great football player, but he's a better human being. Robert Turbin, he was the reason we rushed for all those yards. Yeah, I was paving the way, but it's easy when you hand the ball off to Big Turb, and he can make O-line look really good when he just does stuff by himself. We had a whole bunch though. Pat Scales, I was in his wedding. He was at my wedding. He's one of my best friends still to this day. He's the long snapper for the Bears. He's going to come on here, by the way. We're going to get him on here.
I love it.
All you Bears fans, man, you got to keep watching because I'm going to get you Pat Scales out here.
I'll warn you, I make fun of Bears fans on a regular basis, but I love the Bears players. A lot of their players I'm a big fan of, but I will make fun of Bears fans all day. It's just too easy. As a Cowboys fan, I gotta make fun of somebody who's in worse misery.
I'm a Lions fan, man, so I know a lot about the Bears, and I tell Pat, man, I root for him every week except for 2 weeks. When you play the Lions, I hope you have bad snaps. I hope you roll the ball to the snapper. I hope we block your kicks, all that stuff.
No, see, and it's funny you mentioned these guys' names. Most players wouldn't think when they're going out to a college like Utah State, who are they're these 2-3 star players. They think maybe, well, crap, that's my that's my ceiling. They don't think, hey, maybe I'm playing with one of the best linebackers to ever play in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's the God honest truth. All you need is a shot. Like if you have, and this is what younger kids now, they always, once they get a whole bunch of Division I offers, then what's the next step they want? They want to go to the Alabamas. I got to go to the SEC. You know what I'm saying? Or I got to go to the Big 12. I'm telling you right now, if you're a Division I football player and you're playing at Utah State or you're playing at Alabama, your film is what's going to get you drafted, not what school you went to. And so if you're good enough, they will find you. Josh Allen went to Wyoming, right? He didn't go to an SEC school. Josh Allen had 1 offer out of high school, Wyoming. Bobby Wagner had 1 offer out of high school, Utah State. And we're looking at one of the best offensive players in the NFL right now and literally one of the best defensive players in the NFL for the last 5 years. And they weren't a 5-star. They weren't a 4-star. They weren't even a 3-star. They were a 2-star, and they had 1 offer. And what they did was they took advantage of the opportunity that they got, and they made the most of it.
See, and that's the goal. I think I've preached it enough on this show that just getting the opportunity is the biggest goal. And hearing you played with Bobby, that's a big deal because it's like, and even Patrick Scales. Patrick was he was a 2-star as well. He came on as a tight end and was switched to long snapper.
He's a walk-on tight end. Let me tell you, man.
A walk-on. Okay, so
Pat was a tight end for about 2 weeks, and then they just moved him to long snapper. So that tells you about his athletic ability.
Hey, if you can snap the ball, you can make it anywhere.
Joke's on him though, because joke's on me. He's in his 7th year or 6th year snapping the ball in the NFL. So take that.
Hey, long career in the NFL for those long snappers. It's amazing. It's amazing how one skill can translate so well. Yep. And we just said it. He was a walk on, and he's in the NFL. So it's fantastic to see guys like that. Robert Turbin, played with the Seahawks as well for many years. Now,
Many years.
it's he's still remembered as being with partner with Marshawn Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, you told me back in the day, when you guys were in college, he broke how many face masks? Was he the one that was breaking face masks?
He broke a lot. Whenever that safety filled the alley, I mean, we were playing Texas A&M one time, and when Texas A&M, they had Ryan Tannehill was playing receiver for him. They did have Von Miller at the time, and it was a close game. They ended up beating us 28-24 or something like that. And it was like the middle of the second quarter, and we just ran an outside zone play, and Turbin busted it outside, and that alley defender, which was the safety, came down to hit him, and Robert lowered his shoulder and head. And I've never seen a helmet explode, but this Texas A&M helmet just literally was in 14 different pieces. And I don't want to tackle that guy. No thanks.
That's one of those times you're glad he's on your side and not running into the back of you.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's funny because when we met, I think the first time I remember meeting you was actually when you went in right after your broken leg. When you were just going into Utah State. That was the first time I ever remember, seeing you and your family. And
for sure.
And it was funny because at the time you were talking about it, and you were like, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with me, this and the other. And then seeing you again, it was like the next Christmas, and then the Christmas after that, seeing your progression from my standpoint, it was always really funny to see. Just first of all, I mean, you got bigger in a better way, not a bad way. It was like you got stronger, and it was like I'm like, man, that's a D1 guy. What? That's what that looks like.
Yep.
And seeing that, then you'd always tell me funny stories when you got back and about Robert Turbin breaking helmets and. Guys like Bobby and Patrick Stills, your roommates, just shooting the breeze, and it's fascinating because it's it's an experience that not a lot of people get to experience, and for you to go through it. What was kind of the one thing you look back at now that you kind of regret you didn't maybe take advantage enough of when you were at Utah State? I know it's Utah State, so there's Logan, Utah is not the biggest place in the world, but
that's a great that's a good question, Kelcey. You just stumped me a little bit, but I would have to say just living in the moment. Take it, just really when it's the middle of camp and you just got done with a 2-a-day and you're tired as heck and you have another practice tomorrow at 8 a.m. and the only thing you're thinking about is I don't want to practice tomorrow, is just really taking a deep breath, sitting down and realizing how good you really do have it. Because just like high school, I mean, it went by so fast. Before I knew it, I was graduating. And I wish I could have taken some time to really reflect and just appreciate where I'm at and, how lucky I really am. Because Division I life, it's amazing, but it's hard. There's some tiring days, and you got to have a lot of responsibility. You got to have a lot of, mental toughness, and you got to have a lot of drive. And it sometimes that takes over your whole mind and your whole just willing to do what you want to do on every single day basis. And you can't just sit there and think about how good you really have it and how awesome you have it and how lucky you are to get to go play in front of 60, 70,000 people, on a Saturday. So I think if I could do anything back, I would have definitely done that. Is just for taking time to reflect and just appreciate where I was when I was there.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's actually, I imagine that's probably the hardest part because, you're what, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you're experiencing football, especially you mentioned the drive part of it, and I'll get to that part in a second, but, that driving factor is what makes somebody like Bobby Wagner. It's what makes somebody like you go from a blocking tight end off of broken leg to a center leading his team to multiple offensive records and getting a shot at, getting a call in the NFL. May not have been drafted, but you still got a call.
I was there, but I told you the other week, I think I got cut before I could tie my shoes.
But that's the thing, though. You talk about the drive. You went from you come in off a broken leg. The team is they supported you the whole way. You get moved from blocking tight end to a center. You get ripped a brand new one by your offensive line coach, and then 2008 comes around and you're getting all WAC nominees. You're getting a postseason award. What was that like? What was that moment like when you were like, oh, I made it was, I think, second team?
It was awesome. I didn't even know I got no lie. How I found out was the other guy, the middle linebacker at the time, Jake Hutton, who got all league with me at the same time that year, is we went to go see a movie in the middle of the day. It was just randomly, I forget what movie we were seeing, but it was like noon, and he walks up to me, gives me a big hug, and was like, "Congratulations, my man." And I was like, what? Like, I thought, here comes the joke. Here he's gonna do something stupid, And he's like, "Me and you made all whack, man." And I was like, "What?" He's like, yeah, look it up. And I went on my phone, looked it up. I couldn't believe it, man. It was, I was very proud of myself because, like you said, it was moving from tight end to center, and then I didn't also play center. You know, we had some injuries, so then all of a sudden our backup center came in, and I played guard, and it was just cool to get recognized by the other coaches, you know, in the conference at that time that, you know, I was one of the better O linemen in the league. So it motivated me more. You know, I wanted to see what I could do the next year, you know, and we had a really good year the following year as well, but it was, some people settle with that stuff, but I just, just got more hungry, having good people around you like Bobby, Robert, all my other teammates, that I haven't mentioned yet, keeping me humble, making sure we still worked hard at our common goal in the off season, not letting anything get to our heads, that was big for me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because that's the day before social media. You didn't.
Oh yeah.
You didn't get to find out on Twitter or anything. You didn't have that notification.
Social media went around when I was in college. Who knows what I would have posted?
Yeah, social media. I at that time, I mean, Twitter had just started up, if I'm not mistaken, and
I had
it
my
was still.
MySpace.
It was still the text in Twitter. Yeah, Facebook was college only. I mean that.
Yep, I had MySpace. I had my top 6.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about. Honestly, I forget about MySpace every day until I think my buddy brought it up to me the other day, and I was like, let's just shove that under the rug. Pretend that those days never happened.
Yep.
But it's funny because you were also nominated the next year going into the 08 season for your preseason award. Preseason All-WAC.
Yeah.
And then arguably you might have had a better year that year. Mm-hmm. And you obviously didn't get the postseason award at the end of the year, but you guys went to a bowl game.
Yeah.
What was that experience? What was like that first bowl game experience for you?
Oh, it was awesome. It was amazing. That's what you've worked for. You hear about bowl games, you hear about all this stuff. And then Coach Anderson came in and he turned our program around and he told us we're going to go to a bowl game, and boom, 2 years we were at a bowl game. It was a cool experience, man. The whole week being there, doing all that stuff in Boise at the Idaho Potato Bowl, and just seeing all the fans that traveled from Logan to go to Boise and with all the events throughout the whole week, and then we went to, they had a restaurant in downtown Boise that one was for Utah State and one was for the University of Ohio, who we played. And we went into this restaurant and everything was Aggie themed. All the meals were Utah State Aggie themed. All the sodas and beers choices that you could have. I was 21, so I could have a Aggie ale that they had. Everything was Utah State. So it was a pretty cool experience, and getting to a bowl game is special, and I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. It was cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. See, and again, this is one of those things kids don't look at. They don't look at the opportunity to go to a bowl game when they, getting drafted. That D1 or bust mentality sometimes clouds their judgment. And
yep, absolutely.
Especially for your kids, that you get to tell them, hey, man, I went to a bowl game. Like, It's one of the most amazing experiences ever.
It is.
That's awesome. I don't remember if you guys won that game or not.
We lost to Ohio.
Yeah, it's all right. The Bobcats
after that, Utah State won like 6 bowl games in a row. But yeah, we took an L.
Hey, look, it's okay because in the off season, we did mention you did get a call. That was kind of the one goal you working up to. What was that moment like? I know you didn't get drafted, but you did get a call the day after. And
yeah, I got a call the day after. And honestly, I was leading up to it. I had a pretty good year. I had agents. I had people calling me throughout the year. Scouts would come to our practices. Scouts would come to our games, talk to me before practice, watch film with them. Then they'd come out and watch me practice. So I definitely knew I was part of the whole process. I didn't think I was going to get drafted or anything like that, but I knew, that I had a shot. If someone took a chance on me, that'd be great, and didn't get drafted. And then the day after the draft, I woke up. I forget what I did, but it was about 9 a.m. and a random number from Ohio called, and I was like, Cleveland. I was like, what's going on? And of course, my mind's racing, and it was their area scout, and he told me, who I remembered, and he said, I'll give you a shot. I want you to come out here and do what you can and make a name for yourself. And I was, it was awesome. It was cool. It was cool. After that, I called my parents, and I'll never forget it, man. Just hearing my mom cry, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned your parents. I know they support the heck out of you, and I remember getting a phone call from my dad after he talked to your parents, and my dad was crying. My dad didn't cry for very much of anything, and my dad was crying, talking to me about it, saying, hey, man, your cousin just got a call. He's going to try out with the Browns. And I was like, what? Really? Like that? Seriously? Like, that's awesome. Yeah. And that was, I know the whole family was super proud of you at that moment, and I know you said that was a huge accomplishment for you. And yeah, okay, you didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but you did make a name for yourself while you were there because that wasn't the only call you got.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you did get a call, get to try out for the AFL, right? Arena football.
Yeah, I did arena ball after that in San Jose, the SaberCats. And I was still in the football mode, wanting to stay in shape, see if I could get another call, and see what would happen. And so I did arena ball for a year after that. And about midway through the arena ball season, I kind of knew I don't want to do this anymore. So
yeah.
Once the passion for anything, if you don't love doing this, if you lose your passion for doing this, Kelcey, it's not going to be fun. So
oh yeah, no, I can
doing
imagine
physical stuff every day, and I knew my time was up, and I knew but I knew the thing that I had in my back pocket that a lot of other athletes I think struggle with is I knew 100% what I wanted to do when I was done. I knew I wanted to become a teacher, I wanted to be a high school coach, and I wanted to be a head football coach, and that's what I wanted to do, and here I am.
Yeah, no, and it works out pretty well for you. Now, I did see one interview before. I don't know if I'd never heard about this before, but you were in Dubai between the Browns and San Jose.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did all of that come about? Like you ended up in Dubai teaching PE.
So my mom is she's a go-getter. That's the way to put her. She's a very go-getter, and I got released from the Browns, and I came back home to Northern California, Grass Valley, and about the third day I was home, there was a little application for Chico State's credential program that just happened to make it, onto my desk. And so what I did is I applied for the credential program at Chico State, and my plan was to continue to work out, stay in shape, and take a couple credential classes. So when the time is that I want to be done with football, I could just focus on the credential. And I underestimated how much I would get involved in the credential program. I have my credential to teach in 2 different subjects, in general PE, which is just your regular PE, every single day PE, and then also adapted PE, which is teaching PE for kids that have an intellectual or physical disability. Okay. And so I got on with the adapted PE program at Chico State, and there happened to be a camp for kids with disabilities in Dubai. And if I went and worked it, they were going to pay for everything. So once in a lifetime opportunity. No, I did not work out in Dubai for 2 weeks. So let's say I took some time off of the football training, went to Dubai, worked at a camp for kids with disabilities for like 16 total days, came back, and I'd say like a month and a half after I got back, I got the call to go do arena.
That's awesome. See, now I got to ask, was that kind of a moment for you that you decided, like you already knew you wanted to be a coach, but was that kind of that moment that just solidified it for you,
yeah,
do you think?
For sure. Going over there and just interacting with, a different culture, and it just me making an impact on these kids. I knew right then I had to do something with teaching and coaching. They looked at me like I was a superstar, and I was just this big old Irish white guy that was just running around having a blast.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, the lights keep coming off in my office if I don't move around.
No, that's awesome. And I came across that last night, and I was like, I just have to ask you about that, because I never had heard about it.
The first year I went to Dubai, and then the following year we did the same thing in India.
Okay, so you even followed it up the next year. So yeah. See, I didn't even that wasn't even included. I didn't even know that part.
So, yeah, I went to Dubai the first year, and then did the arena thing, and then when I was done with arena and I was 100% done with football, went back to Chico State, got full on into the credential program, and I was doing stuff, teaching at Chico State, helping as much as I can, and then we happened to have another opportunity to go to India, and I went the next year.
That's amazing. See, and so now, I'll transition a little bit into the coaching because we'll talk about more of that on the next episode, obviously. Yep. But, getting into your coaching career, you did also have the opportunity to go back to Nevada Union and get inducted into their Hall of Fame. What was that like for you?
It was amazing. It was cool. It was really cool. My high school it's an older high school that's been there for 100 years probably, in the pride of the foothills in Sierra Nevada foothills up in Northern California. And it's a very, it's your prototypical small town high school football, high school athletic program where on Friday nights, everyone goes to the football games, but also the girls volleyball team that's really good that year, the gym is packed to watch them play, and so there's a lot of rich tradition, and it's looked upon at a high value in Nevada, or at my high school, as in with athletic accomplishments. And so I was humbled, but also very excited and proud all at the same time to be inducted into the Nevada Union Hall of Fame. It was a great night.
See, that's amazing. And the one thing that I failed to mention earlier, your mom was also teaching at the time there.
Yes, 34 years at Nevada Union.
So she got to actually see you go through your entire career there, and then come back and be inducted to the Hall of Fame. I mean, that was just that in and of itself is amazing too. Is you get
it was a cool night.
Get to continue that family legacy, and then on top of that, then in 2014, you obviously got named head coach. For you, was that how'd that feel for you? Like, how'd 2014 come about for you?
Well, I got done with the credential program, and I needed a job, and the first job I applied for was River Valley High School. They needed a PE teacher, and I came here, and they had a head coach at the time, and he left he went back home to his home in Sacramento, which is like 45 minutes from Yuba City. So the timing was perfect. I've only been here a year, and there was an opening, and a lot of the administration, because of my previous experiences, coaching and playing and coaching and all that stuff, I could totally tell they wanted me to do it. And I had a great first year, and I didn't know if this was going to be, if I'd be at River Valley forever, or if that was just going to be my first stop and I go back to another school. And so I applied in 2014, got the gig, and here I am in River Valley's office talking to you.
7 years later, you're going into, your 7th year now, and it's fantastic to hear. And we'll get more into that again, like I said, in the next episode. But there's one question I feel like as a Utah State alum, I have to ask you this. This offseason, there was the big issue with the president kind of disrespecting one of the longtime coaches, Frank. Is it Frank Maile? Maile, sorry.
Yeah.
And so, he disrespected him and had a lot of questions. And this is a guy to you who is very close to you.
Very close.
What's your thoughts on this? I know I saw your big old Facebook page, and this is what drew me to the story, and I do want to get your.
So I played with Frank for 3 years at Utah State, and then when he was done playing, he transitioned right away to be a GA in the football program and the weight training program, and he's been at Utah State. He left for 2 years to go be the D-line coach at Vanderbilt, like in 2008, I think, in 2009. And then he came back. But he's been at Utah State for about 15 years straight, and he's the glue of that program. There's been head coaches, obviously. Coach Wells, who's at Texas Tech now, was very successful at Utah State, along with Coach Anderson. But Frank Maile is Utah State football. And unfortunately, he had the opportunity to be the head coach. And, there is the leadership committee that is made up of all the leaders on the football team wanted to address this and talk to the president of the university. And from the sources that I have, and they're pretty good sources at Utah State, the sources I have is, the president had some serious doubts about Frank, and the doubts were based on his religion and him and his cultural background. And I just can't believe that was said.
Yeah, Utah State, I know we talked about it off air. I feel like growing up in Utah, I saw it a lot with their players. They were a lot of guys from the Tongan Nation, and I mean, Utah is a Mormon state, for lack of a better
Very Mormon, yes.
So exactly. What better representation for your state in which you coach in than to have a man from the Tongan Nation who was also Mormon? I never understood that.
And don't get me wrong, Utah State hired a great coach. Blake Anderson, the guys is going to be there. I've heard nothing but great things. I bet you he does a fantastic job there. But with that being said, I couldn't let what happened to Frank, because Frank is the type, literally will give you the shirt off his back if you're cold type of guy. He's an alpha male, but he does everything right. He's always well respected. And for something like that to happen to him, when he's just put his heart and soul and blood, sweat, tears, and into Utah State for that long, and for someone to say something so nonchalantly about him and attack him, that the type of man he is, I had to stand up for him.
Exactly. Now you mentioned the new coach. Does it affect your support for them going forward, or you're still Utah State dying?
Yeah. And obviously, I'm going to have a bad taste in my mouth, but just like Frank would say, no one's bigger than the program
Okay,
ever.
see.
It doesn't matter who it is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna always love Utah State. I'm gonna go back there. Like I said, I got one of my ex-players is actually playing defensive line there.
Okay.
So I have some ties there, and they actually hired 2 guys that I played with at Utah State. So I still know guys there, and I'm still gonna go back, and all the alumni stuff because I do love it. And but yeah, Coach Anderson had nothing to do with what happened to Frank Miley. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, it was separate incidences.
And unfortunately, there was some stuff that was said about a person that's very dear to my heart. And when I got to speak up, you might not like me, but you'll respect me.
Yeah, that's just it. If anything it can come out from this, it's especially for anybody going into these positions. Speaking your mind is never a terrible thing as long as you speak it correctly, and you've done that fantastically from your standpoint.
Yep.
But we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode today. We are coming back with part 2 next week. We'll have that aired for you. And Brennan, again, man, thank you so much for coming on. And
hey, you better have me on more than after this, man. We need to figure out something, man. Once a month or something. I'm gonna have too much fun on here with you.
Hey, maybe we might do something for your coaching season. Maybe we bring you in and be like, all right, so how you guys doing this month, this week?
Yes.
We'll figure something out for you. I mean, because like I said, we're just getting around. You are our first interview on the show so far, so you get to. If I had merch to send you, I'd send you merch right now, but
yes.
We don't have any yet. But
before I go, I know there's a lot of people listening. I just wanted to say personally, my man, I am so proud of you, Kelcey, and you're kicking ass and taking names, and you're making an impact on this world. And you just started, so I can't wait to see where this takes you, and I'll be a full supporter of you. So I love you, and I'll say it again, I am so goddamn proud of you.
Man, I appreciate the hell out of that, dude. You don't even understand. Like, I'm trying to hold back tears right now. We've talked about that before. You guys, you and your family especially have always shown me the love and support that, I've never experienced really, because I grew up with my dad, who separated me from everybody except for your family because of the love and support you guys showed him as well.
Yep.
So honestly, I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. But like I said, we will be back next week with a brand new episode, guys, and we will have Brennan on to talk about his coaching experience, not just his playing experience. And we'll get a little more, probably shoot the breeze a little bit more next week. But I got some good questions for him, some good zingers. So we'll be back for that, guys, next week. But until next time, see ya. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2, interviewing with Brennan McFadden. If you guys missed last week, he's former Utah State University football player, currently head coach over at River Valley High School in Yuba City, California. My cousin. We had a fantastic interview last week talking about his coaching career, his playing career. And today we are going to talk about the other side of his career, his coaching career, how he got to that point. Before we get to that, guys, if you guys have not checked them out yet, be sure to check out our sponsors for this episode. Dr. Squatch Soap Company, if you guys haven't heard of them before, Dr. Squatch is changing the way men approach hygiene by providing natural, healthy products that make you feel like a man, smell like a champion. If you guys haven't seen some of their ads, they are some of the most hilarious ads you can possibly imagine. A lot of them, they keep, the lady in the family is the one that's sponsoring the ad for them. So, keep your lady happy, smell nice. It works well like that way. Our other sponsor for the day, Craft Beer Company, Craft Beer Club, is a monthly sponsorship, which brings craft beer straight from their warehouse to your door. So every month you get a selection of craft beers. You get to try them, taste them out. I compare it to BarkBox. If you guys haven't tried BarkBox for your dogs, it's a fantastic thing. Well, this is craft beer for you. Keep yourself happy. Keep yourself trying new things. It's always fantastic. So be sure to check those links out in our link tree. But other than that, man, Brennan, great to have you back again. Yes. I know last week was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun on the episode. I say last week, but we're actually recording this the day after. So, for us, it's a little bit closer. But
No worries. It was an amazing time yesterday. Had a blast.
Heck yeah. And so when we started off, what we ended with last week, we were telling people you are actually getting back to coaching from COVID. Yesterday was your very first day. So for people listening to this, that was actually last Wednesday was your very first day back coaching.
Yep.
How's that? How did it feel? How'd it go?
It was good. We can only be in pods, groups of 10. And so we're not in pads yet. We're not having an actual football practice, but we're in pod workouts. We can work out right now in our county. We can't do any working out inside. So we're outside. We're using weights, what we can do outside. But then, we're on the field. We can do agility. We can do conditioning. We just can't. The hard part that we're dealing with still is you got to be 6 feet apart. And in a game of football, It's tough. It's
You
tough.
can't exactly have 6-foot splits out there for
Yes,
some
exactly.
linemen,
It's hard to work on double teams when you got to be 6 feet apart.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I guess how are you guys doing that with the 6 feet apart? Are you guys putting pads, or is that kind of
Um,
how you're
I mean,
working on
honestly, we
that?
had to remind a lot of the kiddos, they're excited to see one another right away. And, instantly
Yeah,
you got to yell at them, hey, spread out. You can't do that, and it's the things you're yelling at these kids about you would never thought in a million years you'd be yelling at them for, but, like they have to have their own water, they can't give each other high fives, when they're done using a weight, they gotta sanitize it right away. And it's all precautionary. I get why we're doing it. It's just when you have 16, 17, 18-year-olds that have been not doing anything for a couple months, they're chomping at the bit,
yeah.
to do stuff. So they were they're a little rowdy yesterday, but that's what you expect when you haven't seen them in a while. They're excited, but that rowdiness kind of went away when we started doing some hard conditioning, and then all of a sudden reality check set in, and they were huffing and puffing.
Yeah, if you guys missed it last week, we were joking that you'd probably have a lot of out of shape kids coming in, and I guess that was the case. They learned real quickly.
Yeah, oh yeah, yep.
No,
Yep.
it's funny you mentioned that, because if anybody watched Hard Knocks this offseason with the Chargers, Rams, you also saw a lot of that as well and those are professional guys. They're getting paid to do this, and you see it with now. You said it yourself, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, and you can imagine how much harder that is for them to remember to stay spaced. And you don't have the fancy technology that
Yep.
buzzes when you're 6 feet away. So
Yep, exactly.
it's a fascinating time especially for you, for coaching wise. It's something most of your coaches honestly never had to deal with at this point. So
Yep.
you get to say and be like, hey, I did something you guys did.
Right? Exactly.
But so if you guys missed it, basically what we got, where we were yesterday, we talked about how you tried arena football, and you kind of just your love of playing and banging heads against each other kind of just fell away.
Correct.
And that was your big moment of like, all right, I'm stepping away.
Yep. And
you had a plan.
And I had a plan, and I was ready to step away. So the transition wasn't too, like I said, just like anything else in life. If you don't have passion and love for what you're doing, it's kind of easier to do something else. If I still loved it and had the passion, and I think obviously it'd be a little different if I was still competing in the NFL compared to arena. I think my passion probably would have still been there. But I'm also I'm a realist, and I knew that there wasn't a very large chance that I could not make it in the league, get bumped down the arena, and then make it back. So, like I said, I knew my time was up. I had a plan, and I'm just thankful I had a plan.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because you said yesterday, if you don't have the love for the game, if you only want to go D1, then obviously you don't have the love for the game. You kind of experienced a little bit at the end of your career where you dropped to arena, and it was just kind of like, well, we're here.
And if I still had the love for the game, just like I said, if you love football, you're not just going to say D1 or bust. If I still love football like I did when I was 15, 16, 17, or 18, I probably would have stuck it out, But, life goes on, and I knew that I needed to do stuff, to get my teaching credential, and that was kind of the forefront. That's what I wanted to do, and not play arena ball. So, like I said, I lost passion, lost the love for it. But coaching has brought all that back and then some.
Exactly. That's awesome. See, and that's what the hope is. You had a plan, and you went about it. And it helps also not having to bang your head when you're getting paid chump change compared to
right. Yes. The checks were a little different in Arena League than the NFL. Let me tell you.
Yeah, and a lot of kids say, "Oh, you can go to Arena League, it'll be fine." No, they get paid closer to minimum wage than most people expect.
Yep.
But yeah, and so you went through that whole process. And you originally you applied to River Valley to be a PE coach, and you worked as an offensive line coach that first year, and then
my first year, yep.
And then 2014 happened, and you were presented the opportunity.
It was just the dominoes kind of fell where the head coach, he only did it for 1 year, and he knew after 1 year he didn't want to be a head coach at high school level. I don't think he could. There's a lot of stuff that goes on being a head coach. You've got the players. And then you've got to deal with everything that goes on at school on every single day basis. And then you've got the players' parents. Yeah. And that's a whole nother category that you got to be pretty good at. And you got to know that it's, they're not college kids. They're not NFL kids. They're still, these are their young, these are their kids. These are their sons. And they're, they love them very much. Some of them are very worried. And some of them ask me a question every day 4 times. And I still tell them, some of them. So, you have to have great relationship with parents, and you gotta respect them and realize that those are still their babies, and they still look at them like they are, like they're their babies. And so you got to kind of walk that fine line, and you got to do a really good job with the parents, because the parents got to trust you, because you ask a lot in football. They're away from their families a lot. We got to do workouts in the morning, and then we've got practice afterwards, and it's just a lot of time consuming. And you got to have the parents that they got to trust you as well, because the attendance thing is huge in high school. Kids got to be never absent, never late, and all of a sudden, hey, coach, I got to go to my family vacation. You got to make the parents think how you think as a coach.
Yeah, exactly. They can't miss anything. If they want to play, they can't miss.
Yep.
But how's that work for you guys travel wise? I know you said being Northern California, you guys, I think San Joaquin.
Yeah, San Joaquin section. We're not at the point yet where we're a powerhouse program where we can go play some out of state team and anything like that. And also, River Valley is only, I think it's 13 or 14 years old. That's it. So our school is still pretty young. So
you've been the head coach for half of their.
Our oldest alumni are our age, to be honest. Whereas our rival high school 3 miles down the road, Yuba City High, they've been up. It's been there for like 100 years. So they've got some older alumni, that obviously, financially can help out a little more. When I reach out to our alumni, it's
hey man, I just got promoted to like just above intern. Like, what are you guys talking about?
Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, we don't have to pay for travel, which is nice. But yeah, we just, we get a bus and we go down and we do what we got to do, and then we get a bus and we bus back, and it's all done through the district. And
Okay.
But it's your prototypical. You close your eyes, you think of a high school football team on a yellow bus. That's us.
Oh, yeah, those are the fantastic days.
Yep.
You don't miss those as an adult. I got to be honest. Especially as lineman,
sure.
ex-lineman, you're just like, no, I you know what? Don't shove me on a bus for 3 to 5 hours. That's I'm
exactly.
Good. So far, what's been the most fun travel you guys have had to do? What's been the one team you guys have played that maybe for you as a coach is kind of special, or for your players would have been a little more special?
Absolutely. Well, we have our crosstown rival, Yuba City, and it's a really cool dynamic. Yuba City, the actual city itself has close to 65, 70,000 people, and there's 2 major high schools here. So the dynamic of having a crosstown rival is really cool. Because when I grew up in Grass Valley, California, our rival was Grant, and they were in the middle of they were in North Highlands. They were in Sacramento, and they were an hour and 15 minutes away from us, and our rival's literally 3 miles away from us.
Wow.
But I would say the coolest trip that I've had so far as a coach is 2 years ago. We had to play Merced High School, who was number 3 in the section, and they were 10-0, and they were 11-0. It was the second round of playoffs, and we had to go play at Merced, which is like a 2.5, 3-hour bus ride. And we beat them. And so that bus ride home, beating an undefeated team that was number 3 in the whole, that bus ride home for 3 hours, that was something I'll never forget. Never a dull moment after a win, but never a dull moment 3 hours away after you just won the second round of playoffs. Our high school kid, it was a lot of laughs going on, to say the least.
Oh, I can imagine. That would have been fantastic. And now, if I'm not mistaken, that was your guys' best finish to a season so far in the history of the school, if I'm not mistaken.
Following week, we've lost to a team called Placer, which is in Auburn, California.
Okay.
And we lost to them 7-6 in a mud bowl. Yeah, I was the head coach. I decided to take the extra point instead of going for 2 and winning it. And we didn't even get to snap to the holder. So
that's all right. You know what?
But yeah, that year we were 1 game away from the section finals. We lost 7-6. So, made it to the semis. But yeah, we made the playoffs every year. We usually do a pretty good job in playoffs. Either make a run or give. Last year we lost 14-13. So in the first round of playoffs. So back-to-back years we've been ousted out of the playoffs by 1 point.
That's crazy. I mean, you think about that. It's that old saying. I don't know how you feel about this saying. I know this is one my dad always told me. It's better to lose by a lot than to lose by a point.
Yeah.
Because a point just that dagger. It helps give you that driving force.
Yeah.
I imagine it's the same way for some of your returning kids.
I don't know if you're a gambling man, but whenever I bet on sports, I'd rather it be a blowout than lose by a last-second shot. That it's kind of the same thing. But yeah, it's high school sports. Any athletics, it's the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows. And for me, unfortunately, sometimes you remember the losses more than you remember the wins. Yeah,
no, I think that's the same way. I think I remember more of my losses than I do the wins. Just because there's some of those just that drive that dagger in the back.
Coulda, woulda. Like I just told you verbatim what we should have done in the semifinals, about to go to the section finals, and of course decided to go for 1 and go instead of go for 2.
Exactly. Well, not to bring up the lows, but you did have one season that you didn't make the playoffs.
We did not make the playoffs. We went 3-7 that year, and honestly, we were a pretty talented bunch. There was just a lot of dynamics. At the end of the day, I take full responsibility. I'm not an excuse guy. I was the head coach, and we didn't win enough games to go to the playoffs. That's on me, not on anyone else. Unfortunately, I will say that was the same year we were in the middle of a teacher strike. And so the dynamics of me being the head coach and being with these kids every day for months on end, and then all of a sudden the teachers strike, and I actually didn't coach in like 3 or 4 games. And I wasn't around for practices or anything. If you striked, if you were on the picket line, you couldn't come to, obviously you can't come, to practice or anything like that. So there was a lot of stuff that went on, let's just say, at practice and football PE and meetings that normally don't happen if Coach McFadden's there. But I had to do something that I thought I was standing up for my family, so I could put food on their plate. And it was a hard dynamic, obviously not being there for the boys. That was one of the hardest and most complicated couple weeks of my life. Because I was standing up for what I believe in and, trying to make a difference for my family, my wife and my kid. But then I was walking away from my second family, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And, that is something at the end of the day, it turns out it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
It maybe not that season, but you know what, you look at where you're at now. I think, it's worked out for the better.
And I got a fat raise.
Yeah. See, that doesn't hurt anything at all.
Right.
And now after that season, I don't know how, what's your thoughts on this, but you got to actually have the opportunity to coach with your former high school coach.
Yeah. And he's still here with me.
How does that feel? How's that?
Oh, it's amazing. So, as a high school coach, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of energy. And I had just had my baby girl, Rowan, and I was a little nervous that I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to be a great dad, a great husband, and a great coach. And so the dynamics worked out perfectly. My old coach, Coach Humpers, and you have to realize Coach Humpers was 26 years at Nevada Union, one of the most well-respected, most winningest coaches, won 4 section titles. I think he played and coached in 6 of them. He's had, I think, over 50 guys get a Division I offer, and he has brought 13 guys to the NFL.
Wow.
And so
you're included in those numbers. Don't that's just it.
Right. There was an opportunity for him to come, and I'm not a me guy. I want to win. And at the end of the day, it was best for our program and it was best for these kids. And we had a better opportunity to win if I brought on my old head coach with me. And also it helped me when, oh my God, my daughter's sick because she's a 1-year-old. And I didn't worry about what was going on at practice. And I think what happened in that strike the previous year really brought it to the forefront that, if I'm not there, stuff's not going to get done right. And with him, it's going to get done to a T. Perfect. I don't have to worry about it at all. So he's my saving grace. He's like my second dad. He's still coaching with me. He's got enough energy and passion for this game. He's been more than any other coach I know, still to this day, loves it. He was put on this earth to coach high school football and impact these kids in a positive way.
See, that's amazing. And I imagine, you mentioned your family, you mentioned your daughter, you mentioned your wife. That helped take a lot of the pressure off you. And I want to take a step back from your coaching career and talk about your family. Like, how is your wife and having a daughter now? How has that affected everything for you?
Yeah, I met my wife when I was getting my credential at Chico State, and she was a spin class instructor. And, me thinking I'm some cool guy, I tried to talk some game at a gym while she's working out. And she basically told me to kick rocks. And then I kept, I was persistent, and I kept talking to her, and she basically said, you'll get my number the moment you go through one of my spin classes. And I didn't know that she is like some highly certified, this spin class is going to kick your butt type of deal. So I went in there and, oh man, by the end of it, I was faking like I was turning the, whatever it's called, the increased friction, whatever. So it goes hard. I was just faking that. I wasn't turning anything because I couldn't, but I got the number and the rest is history. And then, I have one daughter, Rowan Bo McFadden. I named her middle name is Bo after our dog. I'm a dog guy. We have a boxer and we love him to death. Banner Bo.
I was like, you can see my dogs pop up over my shoulders here.
Yeah. We born and raised with dogs in my life. She was born and raised, and we are very much dog people. And so rowing is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and it's so cliche. It's so cliche to say, you hear that, you have a kid, it's the best thing that's ever happened to you, but it truly is. I could have a bad day coaching, and before her, we had a bad day at practice, we had a bad game, I'd come home and I'd be pissed off at the world, and I have we have a bad day at practice or a bad game, and I come home and she runs up to me and asks me to put on her tutu and have a tea party with her. I don't think about football at all.
It helps keep that work life separation for you.
Yeah,
helps keep you mentally stable.
Yep.
I imagine
my wife's a saint though, because during football season I'm there, but I'm not there as much as she is.
Yeah, so. I was gonna ask, how does she feel about everything, like about the football season? How does she? I imagine she handles it like a champion.
She likes sports. I think at the beginning, yeah, she was all about. I'll be honest with you. A side note: I proposed to my wife after my first year coaching as the head coach at my senior awards banquet. That's where I proposed to her.
Okay.
So I got to give her props, because if she would have said no in front of my football team, I'd still be getting ragged on.
I don't think we would have heard the end of that one.
Yeah, exactly. My family would still be making fun of me, but yeah, she's amazing. She supports me, and she supports my family in, a lot of ways that, don't have anything to do with football, but she keeps the ball rolling in our house, and she loves our daughter, and it's really cool. My daughter's at the age now where, she can come to some practices. Before COVID and everything, she'd come to practice when we're doing conditioning. She wants to blow the whistle to start the boys. She comes out on the game like she owns the joint on game day, and every boy knows. One of my players knows who she is. Gives her knuckles. She tells them what to do, and she thinks she's a coach.
All right, so I got to ask: future coach or future player? What do you think she's gonna be? Would you? Well, I guess that's a bigger question. Would you let her play like all of Sarah Fuller like this year?
Yeah. Hey, my daughter, whatever she wants, I'm going to support her in whatever it is. If she wants to play football, she's going to be pretty good, because I know how to coach it up. If she wants to play baseball, she can play baseball. If she wants to play the violin, let's make her the best violinist, if that's a word.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yep.
in the world, I'm not the smallest human in the world, so I think my daughter's going to be pretty big. So thank God she looks like my wife, because she's not going to be small. So I think sports are definitely going to be in the future for her, and I'm excited, man. But we just signed her up for a dance class. She's going to be a little ballerina, and we got her the ballerina stuff. And I walked into her room last night, and she was practicing. So
oh man,
she's got that drive.
She's already got the drive going. She's already ready to be on stage. No, that's awesome. See, because I'm always curious about that. Being a dad now, that you look at it and you wonder, maybe she will be the next Sarah Fuller, or maybe she could be potentially your coach, follows in your footsteps. I think Remember the Titans style.
The Remember the Titans style with the little the coach's daughter was, she's probably gonna know more about football than a lot of kids her age. She already knows I'm a diehard Lions fan, and every Sunday she's got on her Honolulu blue for the Lions.
So I have to ask, I'm a big Kerryon Johnson fan. So Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift, does she have a preference?
Swift, man. Swift's the real deal, man. Hey, Kerryon's good. He's really good, but I'm telling you right now, he's not DeAndre Swift.
I understand that. Yeah, I get that. I understand, from the Lions standpoint, but I got to stick with my Auburn guy.
I hear you. I have a question. How did you become such an Auburn fan? I don't think I ever know the story.
Oh, I went to school there.
So were you a diehard just after Auburn?
Yeah.
Or just when you went there?
No, just when I went there, 2009, 2010.
What about your mom? Has she always been an Auburn fan, or that was just when you went there?
Same thing. Yeah, my stepdad was an Auburn fan, and she picked it up that way. And so when I went there, I actually went in 2009, 2010. One of the first classes I sat in was an econ class, and there just happened to be a guy by the name of Cam Newton sitting 3 steps away from me. And I didn't know anything. Like, I recognized him because I follow football, and I follow the post boards and everything, and I knew he transferred from Florida. And I looked over and I saw him, and I was just like, oh, okay. That's cool, whatever. Keep going about my life. And then, like, 1 week, 2 weeks later, no big deal. And then about 5 weeks in, once football started, and he had his first big game, and everybody, like, literally, I'm telling you, this is a giant theater classroom, 300 kids in there, and there were about 400 people standing in the back row right here where Cam Newton is, and then I'm just like, guys, I got to get to my seat. Like, yeah. It was the craziest experience.
And then, little did you know you were sitting by a guy that would probably have one of the best college football seasons in the history of college football.
Yeah, and then, I interned at the athletic department that first year there too. And so that fall, I was interning with the athletic department, and I got to experience meeting him, meeting Bo Jackson, meeting Tim Hudson, Charles Barkley, all these guys that just came in. And I'm like, I'm okay. So I'm normally pretty good, but when I met Bo Jackson and Tim Hudson as a baseball fan, as just a sports fan in general, I fanboyed. I was like, sir,
I would have done the same thing with Bo, man. And I think I probably would have done it with Charles Barkley, too. I love me some Charles Barkley, man.
Well, so I didn't meet Charles Barkley in the same way that most people would meet him in the intern program. I met him at a bar downtown.
Yeah, I actually met Charles once at a bar in South Lake Tahoe.
See, that's exactly right. So he goes when he goes to Auburn, he goes to the games and he goes and sits, and he'll go to the game, and that's something more new that when Tony Barbie took over, they kind of the old basketball players came back.
Yeah.
And so he showed up one day and he's like, meet me downtown at the bar. I'll buy everybody in the bar a drink. And so me and my buddies, being the people we are, like,
oh, we're going.
All right, yeah, let's go. You know, why not? And walking through the bar, I didn't see him. I went to the bathroom. Then all of a sudden, there's this big old tall, 6'8", 6'9" dude just chilling there, and you're like, huh, he looks really familiar. And then he turns around and it's Charles Barkley, and you're like,
wow.
Oh, hi, Mr. Barkley. I'll talk to you in like a minute. But
wow.
So that's how I became an Auburn fan. Being there in Auburn, being the national championship year, experiencing all that.
Oh, yeah, you were there in the national championship year, man. That turned you for life. It's over. It's all you
do. So that's how it happened. Plus, trying to walk on the baseball team, and that worked out pretty well. And then, you just, I don't know, I fell in love with it. Much like I imagine your first steps on Utah State's campus, you were just kind of like, oh, I'm here.
I loved it. I'll tell you what, though, I didn't like my first week there getting in shape. Whoo, boy.
Yeah, no.
I thought I was in shape, and then there's Division I workout. It's a little different.
No, exactly. And, it's funny because we both talk about, like, how we fell in love with these colleges. And I imagine it's the same now for you with a second high school. Like, you were in love with Nevada Union when you were there.
Yep.
But River Valley, you guys are – you're there now. It's 7 years. And
now. I bleed green. And of course, I love Nevada Union, born and raised in Grass Valley. My mom taught there. I grew up at NU too. That's the thing that people don't realize is that I was going to Nevada Union from 6 a.m. till 8 o'clock when I was in second grade until my 8th grade year, because the bus stop for the teachers' kids at Nevada Union picked you up at 8 at the top of NU. So, I mean, I literally was in my mom's class for the first 2 or 3 periods a day, because high school started a lot sooner, or before, my middle school and my elementary school days. So, I mean, I was literally in my mom's classroom for 1 or 2 or 3 periods in the morning. Then I'd walk up, get on the bus. So, I mean, I'd born and raised at NU, love it to death. But now here I am, and it's just, I'm falling in love with this school now, and I love it.
I have to ask then, if you guys happen to ever play Nevada Union, would your mom wear green and gray, or would she rock Nevada Union still?
Green and gray.
Yeah. So have you guys already played? That I guess is the
no. We've tried. No. It hasn't worked out yet. For multiple reasons. But even with Coach Hump, we've talked about it. Coach Humphers, he was the head coach there for 26 years, and it'd be weird for him to be on the other side. Not on the home side coaching, be on the away side. I only played there varsity for 3 years. He was there for almost 30, so.
Yeah, I imagine that'd be pretty crazy. Hopefully you guys could play at your home stadium, get to experience that gray turf for all those Nevada Union
great
kids.
Turf, man. I got to get you out here, and you got to watch a game, man.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always excited for that. That's kind of my goal is, next year actually go back and meet family, see family that I haven't seen forever. Because, last time I saw you guys was 3 years ago, basically.
Yep.
And, that's actually the last time I saw any family.
Were you there for the family reunion at the park in Roseville? Were you there for that one?
Yep. Yeah. That's where I saw you guys. That's where I met Rowan and met your wife. And
Yep. That's
right. That's the last time I saw. Yeah, that was exactly right. Yeah, that's the last time I saw family, and that was fun.
Yeah. Yes,
it was always fun to get together and shoot the breeze.
Never a dull moment with our family.
Oh God, no, not at all. Bunch of Irish people who like to have a little too much fun.
Yep. Yes.
So speaking of fun, obviously, coaching is not all fun and games, but there are some high moments. We've already talked about your lows, but so far, what's been the one thing, maybe not wins and losses, maybe it is 2 years ago in that sectional, getting to the one game away from sectionals, but what's been the highest moment for you as a coach so far?
There's a couple, and they kind of they're different. I would say one of the highest moments, for me is it had nothing to do with a star player, had nothing to do with a guy that, broke records here or, was the strongest guy, the fastest guy or anything like that. One time our season was over and we were turning in our pads and our backup O lineman wanted to talk to me and I said, yeah, what's up? And I went to his office and he just thanked me for, being a positive role model in his life. And, he truly said, I've never had a male, love me like you have. Like, he came from a pretty bad home life, and he's like, I know I wasn't the best person, on the team, but you cared about me as a person. I wasn't just an object. I wasn't good at football, so you still treated me like the D1 guys you had to have 5-6 D1 offers. And he just wanted to say thank you, and he started crying a little bit, and that touched me in a way. Like I kind of sat back from that and was like, that's why I do this. I don't do it for the Friday nights to win. I do it to impact these kids, especially at this level. Impact these kids, make a positive impact for them so they can be productive citizens, of society when they're done. Whatever they decide to do. If they want to be a fireman, they're going to be a badass fireman. If they're going to do, if they're going to be a contractor, then be a badass contractor. If they're going to go to school and get their degree, they're going to kick butt in school and get their degree. So that was the first one where it kind of took me back. I actually had to call my mom and say, hey, this just happened. Man, I can't believe it. Like the impact I'm having on these kids. And then I would say, on the other end of that, another really high moment for me is, just being the bridge, I guess, that and helping my kids that do want to play football at the next level, and helping them through that and stuff. I had a couple. My first D1 guy went to Drake. He went to Drake and played there. Devin Cates, and he did fantastic there. He broke a lot of records for them as a receiver. And then the last couple of years, we had two guys. One went to Northern Arizona. He was a quarterback, but he ate too many cheeseburgers, and they made him a tight end. And then the one that really hit home, though, and just because of the situation at Utah State, is I had a big D lineman that committed to Utah State, and him and his buddy who went to Northern Arizona, they told me freshman year we want to play football in college, and they both had the size. They're both 6'3", 6'4", 2. The D lineman was about 260, 270. The quarterback was like 215, 220. But they put in the work. They worked like they weren't a Division I athlete. You know what I'm saying? They worked like they need to bust their butt every day just to maybe get a couple reps in a game. And they were the never absent, never late. They were the leaders on the team. And I think when I went with, his name's Dean, when I went with Dean to his official visit at Utah State, it kind of hit me that, holy you know what, this is full circle. Like, what I learned here at Utah State, the adversity I went through, the trials and tribulations, the relationships I met, the people that made me into a young man, got me to where I need to be. Now here I am helping another individual who I'm very, close with, and he's going to go through the same experience as I did. And it was kind of like, I played there, was lucky enough to be pretty good at it, was lucky enough to be respected by my teammates, being a captain, and then having one of my players go there. It was a really cool experience for me.
That's awesome. See, and that's what I imagine you always wanted, and being a part of this coaching. You saw it with your mom teaching wise. Now you get to experience a little bit of it with coaching, and into a whole different level, because you are with these guys not just as their teacher, but also as a coach that spends exponentially more time with them.
Yep.
It's
yeah, I gotta, all of a sudden they're having a bad practice. You go and talk to them, and you find out that they're in a fight with their girlfriend, and then you got to talk to them, and then you got to put the dad hat on and be like, are you freaking kidding me? But you got to figure out a way to tell them it's going to be all right. Now get in there and let's go rep some plays.
Yeah, exactly. Finding that fine line that your coaches before you had to find when they were teaching you, and that's always something amazing.
Exactly.
Now, I did mention you do now coach with one of your former coaches, but has there been a coach that you maybe coached against that you walked away from the game with an extra amount of respect from them than you never had before? Like maybe like it's a coach that just stood out to you for some reason.
Yeah, and and it's kind of in our circle of coaches as well. So his name is Joey Montoya, and he's at Placer, the game we lost 7-6. He was the offensive coordinator at Nevada Union when I was going up. And he left my senior year to go be a head coach at a different school. And he's just stayed in great we've been in contact. We stay in touch, and they're a powerhouse program. There's no other way to say it in Northern California. Placer, they average 10, 11 wins a year. They won the state a couple years ago. They beat some LA team, and they've won. I think he's won 3 or 4 sections. So he is the real deal, and he always does a great job of communicating with me on a weekly basis, a daily basis, and just encouraging me, making sure telling me I did the right thing on players, if I gotta, and it was cool. We had to play him in the playoffs, and here's my ex-coach with me, and then one of my other ex-coaches on the other sideline. We're both very successful programs, and we're playing against each other. And it wasn't, we lost. We lost by 1 point, and we were pissed, and we wanted to go. But after the game, we gave each other hugs. Whereas there's some coaches, I give that firm handshake, make sure I look them right in the eyes, as I'm going by.
Give him that Dabo Sweeney handshake.
This is all, yeah, exactly. This is all love and respect, and he's amazing. His name's Joey Montoya, and like I said, he's the head coach at Placer High School, and I just think the world of him.
That's awesome. See, and that's even crazy. Would you have expected that when you first got into coaching, that here you are, a guy from Nevada Union, you have you just mentioned your circle of coaches, really, that you've either coached with, coached against, or, that you guys communicate on a daily basis. Would you have expected that originally? Like you'd be communicating with a guy who has won this many title and this many sectionals and who's coaching one of the top teams in California.
Yeah.
And you communicate on a daily basis. Like, is that something that just kind of came out and just kind of was like surprised you?
Yeah, it was for sure. And I think it was kind of cool where when they started asking me questions, what would you do if this guy, what do you do against this defense because we run the wing T. I don't know if you know, okay. I don't know if we've talked about that. So
not yet. That was actually my next question.
that's what we ran in high school at Nevada Union. And that's what Dave is kind of the guru, Coach Humpers. And that's what Joey Montoya runs as well as the wing T. And it's, the last 5 or 6 years, it's just been this explosion of the spread, you know what I'm saying? Spread everyone out. And we're kind of we don't have the type of athletes that some of our, fellow league opponents have, if there's another way to say it. So I just decided to run the wing T. It's a very disciplined offense, and it's very old school, but it's also kind of my mentality when I played it. And it's, you got to dominate up front, and it's a very physical offense, and you're going to run the ball 80% of the time, but you're also going to hit people in the mouth 100% of the time. So and I love that. Like I said, when we went and played Merced, they had 5 guys going D1. They were empty every single play, throwing smoke screens, it was just, they spread it everyone out to get all their athletes in space. And we didn't have the type of athletes they did. But then when it was our time on offense, we had 2 tight ends, a fullback, 2 running backs, and we were going to run right at you and see if we could stop it. And we beat them, I think it was like 45-38 or something like that.
Wow. See, that's amazing because, you mentioned the wing T. That's more of an old school grind them down type of offense. That's that let the bone roll stop. Not really let the bone roll, obviously, but that is that mentality of
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yep. And so I guess that as a former offensive lineman, I know obviously most people think you were offensive, so you tend to stick with the offense. Are you that way, or do you focus more on the defense in practice than the offense, or which way do you go
at the beginning? I'll tell you right now, I was all offense, and I had to look myself in the mirror, and it was because I knew more about offense than defense. So I would just do it more. You know what I'm saying? But the old adage, offense wins games, but what's defense do? Win championships. So, and that was the other thing. Like I said, this isn't about me. It's about these kids. It's about this program. I knew bringing on Dave Humpers, my old coach, he was going to teach me. I was become a better coach coaching with him. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned a ton already from him, and but now I love defense, man. I love coach. I do offensive line and defensive line, and I'm the head coach. But those are my babies. You gotta have this. You gotta coach them a certain way, and you gotta, they just have to have a mentality every single day of, their job's not fun, So you gotta make it fun. You gotta make it competitive, and you gotta make them love to do the hard stuff. And I just love doing that, man. I absolutely love it.
And now, what's one of the crazy things that you have to deal with practice-wise, like coaching a defense that goes against a wing T in practice, but you like you said, you go against spread offenses in games. How difficult is that for both sides of the ball? I mean, really, but especially defensively to coach
we play so many spread teams, honestly, that it's not practicing week to week, the one thing that really helps, I'll kind of flip it and say what's a real positive for us is that we do run the wing tee. Yeah. So you have, you'll play a team that's had 6 games. 4 out of those 6 games were spread teams, and now all of a sudden they're playing us in our 6th or 7th week of the season where we've gotten better each week, and we run something completely different. So they have 4 days to prep, to try to stop this wing tee, which is completely different than the spread, and we're pretty good at it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a difference maker. It's the equalizer, and that's what I love about it is, especially in high school, if you don't know how to stop the wing tee, you're in a lot of hurt.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I imagine it's how college coaches in the ACC feel when they get that Georgia Tech on the schedule, and they're like, oh crap.
Yep. Or
we got to go against this.
When we played Air Force, in college, they're triple option. You know what I'm saying? And they're pretty good at it. When you're done playing Air Force, on defense, you're gonna be beat up. There's no other way to say it.
It's ironic too that the military schools are the ones that run them because of how much discipline they require to run them well, and so it's really ironic that the most disciplined schools run the most disciplined style of offense.
Yep.
And that does lead me to a little bit of a question. I know we talked about discipline, but what about some fun? Like if you had to choose a trick play to run, I got 3 listed: a fumble rooski, a Statue of Liberty, or a quarterback throwback, like a reverse throwback to the quarterback.
I'll one up you, and we run a reverse to our guard.
Oh, okay, all right. So kind of a fumble rooski combo with a reverse to a guard.
Yeah. So in the wing tee, you pull our guards a lot, but as any handoff has to be behind. You can't hand off in front. So our guards obviously pull, and when we run that play, our quarterback's hit, and he just turns, and then our backside guard pulls right behind him, and he hands the ball off to the guard. And so we scored a touchdown on it once a couple years ago. We were beating a team pretty good, and the kids wanted to run it. I felt bad because the starters were still in, and this guard who I love, he's banging heads all year. Coach, run the play. Come on, I want to score. I was like, all right, fine, we'll run it. You're going to get like 6 yards. 49-yard touchdown. I was like, gosh, we just ran a trick play and we're up big. I had to apologize to the coach. I didn't think we were going to score.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I know I'm a big fan of big man touchdowns. So that's.
Yeah, but there's the double passes, especially with these smoke screens, these quick screens now that are it's hard to stop because you gotta fly to the football, and if that first pass on a smoke screen to the wide receiver, if that's a lateral, if they do it behind and you fill those, there's going to be someone behind the defense, just like a lot of teams do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's funny because I look at the Browns, and it's ironic I bring up the Browns, but I look at the Browns that this season, once they lost Odell, I feel like every single game they ran a reverse throwback or a double pass.
Yep.
In some way, shape, or form with Jarvis, QB1 over there deciding to drop bombs. And it's ironic it's the Browns of all teams. But
right. Before we move on, my upset pick of this weekend, I think I got Cleveland beating the Chiefs. I really do.
Okay. So you side with Odell on this one, huh?
I love the way I think the Chiefs are phenomenal. Obviously, they're the most talented. They're going to outscore everyone. I don't think their defense is playing too well, and I think the Browns in the playoffs, if you have a pretty good defense, which the Browns do, they run the ball the best with the remaining teams. I think they're going to have a shot. Oh
yeah, definitely. That two-headed running attack with Kareem and
monsters right
and
there.
Nick Chubb. It's everybody saw it last week. Kareem Hunt looked like the guy who he was leading the league in rushing with the Chiefs, and it's just like to add on top of that, Nick Chubb, who is a bowling ball monster of himself. I don't even get it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to watch, and Baker just doesn't have to do much. Just be patient,
and Baker's getting better. Each year he's getting better. And they'll have Stefanski back this year. He's a phenomenal play caller. So
yeah, that was more. I think that was the most fascinating part about last week, doing it without your head coach. And you mentioned it when you guys had the strike, how hard that is for teams going into a game without your head coach. And that is, you just see how amazing they did, kind of rallying around that moment.
Yep, I think their defense is playing really well right now, and obviously they had 5 turnovers against Pittsburgh, but I think it's going to be. I'm not like I said, betting wise, I think the Chiefs are favored by like 11. I don't think they're going to beat them by 11.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that, but I do have to ask. So you did mention the Steelers. If you had a team that acted kind of like Juju and Chase Claypool pregame, and you had some guys that were doing that on team, how would you react? I know it's high school, so it's a little different, but these kids still are on TikTok, so.
It's different with high school kids. They wouldn't do that, and they'd be sitting their butt on the sideline. You know what I'm saying? If they did that, but in the NFL, when you're dealing with if I was the coach and I said don't do that, and that receiver makes $8 million more than me, it's just it's a different dynamic, you know. But obviously we would have a face-to-face conversation and let them know that, you know, you doing that is bringing a lot of attention to yourself, yes, but it's also pumping up that team in the other locker room. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if Juju was coming out and getting 10 receptions and 160 yards and 2 touchdowns every week, I wouldn't tell him to stop, but he wasn't doing that when he was doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, he's looking more like the third level receiver at that point than he was the first number one guy. I always have to ask, you know, getting a head coach's opinion on that, considering it was such a big deal for the league in this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
and,
you look
and
at it.
There's a fine line, because I'm not the type of coach where I want my players on pins and needles that they're going to do something, you know, before the game, or, you know, the game day where they're, you know, think that I'm going to yell at them, or, you know, like when Coach Anderson came in at Utah State and took over for me, like, game days are nonchalant. They're not like he makes sure we are happy-go-lucky, ready to go ball. There's no nerves. Whereas my other coach before that, you know, we couldn't have cell phones, you know, like we had to be quiet when we did this, you know, when we were eating. Like Coach A was like, have fun, guys. Like, don't work. Like, I don't want you to be all, you know, freaked out. Like you're on pins and needles. Like, you guys put in you put in the work all week. What's 3 hours the morning of going to do? Nothing. It's not going to change the outcome of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, go have fun, relax, you know. And I think that was a big weight off some of our players' shoulders. And we went out there and just, you know, had a blast.
Hey, if stats are anything to go by, I mean, you definitely saw it in your statistics those last 2 years. I mean, setting records that you hadn't seen since '74. That tells you a little something about that coaching style, how well that works.
Exactly.
Now, which coach? You know, you mentioned Coach A compared to your previous head coach.
Yeah.
And even Coach Humphers, like what coach do you think you pulled the most from, or do you kind of think you take a lot from a lot of coaches?
I think it's a little bit of everything from from one coach here or there, you know. Obviously probably the most two are Coach Humphers, you know, just because I've been with him the most, but then Coach Gary Anderson as well. I've just never seen, he's such a player's coach. I've never seen a man, you know, leader of men, motivate and, you know, everyone on the team. You know, when he first came, his first run at Utah State, I mean, overnight he changed the culture. He changed our confidence. It was the same players. We went from 3-7 to 11-1 in 2 years. It's not like we had a different roster, you know. Like he got our confidence up. So I definitely, for the high, but also you have to realize college players and high school players are different. You have to coach them differently. You know what I'm saying? So I've learned a lot about the player aspect of having a relationship with players from Coach A, but the discipline and how to reach high school players and how to motivate high school players on an every single day basis, I 100% learned from Coach Humphers.
What is the one thing you found motivates these kids differently? I know it's two different ball games, so I mean, it's at the end of the day.
Playing time always motivates kids, no matter what, you know. But I think what really motivates kids is if they know that you just don't care about them as a player. If you care about them as a human being and you build that relationship with them and you know, interact with them outside of football that has nothing to do with football, you can motivate them. You can coach them harder because they know it's from the heart. You know what I'm saying? I haven't used 4-letter words in high school, but, you know, I loved my coaches at Utah State. And if I was being lazy or if I wasn't doing what they thought I should be doing, they would let me know. And it wasn't anything personal. It was, I'm going to motivate you. And we have such a good relationship. You know, it's not personal, but this is how I coach. Respect how I coach. But, you know, it's different for every kid, honestly. You know, high school kids are so funny. Some of them want to be on the football team just so they're on the football team. You know what I'm saying? Some of them want to play Division I sports. So every kid is different on motivating them. But I think as long as you continue to try to motivate them every day, you're doing your job as a coach, because they very easily can get content. You know what I'm saying? And at the college level, you know, motivation, I mean, in your junior and senior year, there's no doubt about it. The motivation is going to the NFL because you're one step away. You know what I'm saying? You're one step away from changing your life, you know, financially, all this stuff. So the motivation at the college level, I would say, is 80% and getting to the league. And it really is. But other guys have motivation, just to make the team, stuff like that. But the guys that are there, I mean, you can ask, I think Najee Harris, when he went to Bama, it wasn't so he could get his degree. You know what I'm saying? I love him. I know what he's saying, but he probably went there because he know that's his best opportunity. You know what I'm saying? To get to the league.
Especially their consideration for current RBU type of moment. I mean, goodness.
They have RBU. They got O-line U. They have receiver U.
At this point, it's pick a position. They're putting them in the NFL. Defensive U. That Bama team, as much as, as an Auburn fan, as much as I do not like Alabama, I respect everything about Nick Saban and the way he's able to coach. And
it's kind of
recruit.
The old Tom Brady effect. Like 4 years ago, I hated Tom Brady. Despised him. Despised the Patriots. Always rooted against them. And then after he won like his 5th Super Bowl, it's like we're truly might be watching the GOAT right now, in my lifetime. So hats off to you. You got to respect him, And then once he beat who'd they win? The Rams? Is that his last Super Bowl with the Rams?
12-3 against the Rams, 12-6, whatever it was.
And he won his 6th. It's like you're literally. I just witnessed the GOAT. So it's now it's hats off to you. As much as I hated you, now I respect you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the same thing for me and Saban. It's just like, I started out hating him because he was an LSU guy, and then now he's out of Alabama, and now he just keeps winning. And then there was a certain point, it was like 2015 when they, came back after losing to Ohio State. It was like, man, are you going to stop winning? What point are you going to stop trying to win everything?
And the other thing is, I've talked to other coaches about this too, at the high school level, and some of my buddies that are coaching in college, is not only, yes, Alabama has by far the best. They have dudes everywhere, but they also are so well coached, and they do not make mistakes. Like, very rarely does someone on the football field do something that he's not supposed to do. So it's like you got the best players who could easily not be motivated to do the right thing every single day, every single play, and Nick Saban gets them to do that. So you got to take your hat off to him.
Oh, yeah. And then I also look at it from another standpoint, from the coaches he gets to come in. You think about it, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, guys who really other places had just flamed out.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking Lane Kiffin, who literally left in the middle of the night to flaming mattresses from Tennessee, and then, goes to USC, and Steve Sarkisian gets kicked off the bus, fired off the bus, and then goes to Bama, then gets kicked off of Bama for another reason, goes to Atlanta, comes back, and now he's leading to another title. And it's just such a great system. And to me, I'm just like, from coaching down, players, everything, like, what Saban has created there is, I think, maybe you can correct me if I feel wrong about if I'm wrong on this, but for all coaches, I feel like that's kind of the standard you want to build, is something that for your coaches and players is equally beneficial.
There's a reason head coaches go to Alabama in the offseason that are in the NFL and just stay there for a week to see how he does things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It fascinates me to no end, honestly. I could literally talk about Nick Saban, I think, for hours and days and months and years. Sure. But, we talk about coaches joining your staff. What is one former teammate, or maybe multiple? Maybe you have multiple former teammates. Who is one that you would love to have on your staff for whatever reason?
Former teammate. Well, let me think. I'm trying to. That's a good question. I would have to say.
I mean, you have some low-hanging fruit out there, so I know those can be easy.
There's 2 of them. And these guys, one played in the NFL, Sean Murphy. His dad is actually Dale Murphy. You know Dale Murphy, right? Guy from the Braves.
Yep.
Old school.
Third baseman.
He was one of my best friends, still is to this day. He was in my wedding. We just have such a great relationship, and we're so competitive towards each other that I think that it would literally be his position group's going to beat my position group every single day at something, and it would just be so fun to do that. And then the other one I would have to say is a guy by the name of Rob Myers, who played tight end for us at Utah State. He lives in Houston now, and he's that guy that just rubs me the right way. Everything, his sense of humor just makes me giggle no matter what. He'll say a one-liner, no one will laugh, and I just am cracking up, and everyone's got that friend that is just, God, I love this guy. He's so freaking funny. And everyone's like, no, he's not. He's not funny at all. It's like, dude, this guy cracks me up. So
yeah,
I love Rob. He'd be hilarious to coach with, because I think it'd be hard for me to yell at my players because I'd be laughing the whole time.
Your players might love that a little more than you would. So, that obviously brings me to a question that you mentioned a little bit of it yesterday when you first arrived at River Valley. You weren't sure if it was going to be a one stop or if you were going to be here, maybe go to another school or
Yeah,
have you ever had, and now if any of your kids are listening, this is just pure speculation. I literally am just curious from my own standpoint. Have
yeah.
you ever had the thought going into your head of maybe going to the next level one day?
I definitely have. And I was offered the GA spot when I was um, done playing at Utah State, and before I left to come back to California, Coach Anderson offered me a GA spot to help, coach with him and just get in with the program and stuff. And I declined it, and I told him I want to be a high school coach. But I think about it all the time, to be honest, and daydream about it. Where could I be? What could I do? But at the end of the day, with how college coaching and that dynamic and that profession work, I'm married. I have a kid, and I don't want my family moving every 2 or 3 years. I don't want my daughter having to go to a new school every 2 or 3 years, because that's the average. The average coach coaches at a school for 2.6 years, I think it is, and then they're going somewhere else. And so, we're Northern California people. Both me and my wife are, and this is where our family is. And so, yes, I think about it, but in reality, it'll never come to fruition, just because I got stability here. I can go 3-7 and not make the playoffs, and guess who's going to be the head coach next year?
Yeah.
Me. Now, if you go 3-7, you might not have a job.
You might not even make it past 3-4 in the college standards.
So, when it comes to providing for your family and, putting food on your daughter's plate, the stability I have at the high school level, you can't beat that.
Yeah. I get that, and that's the reason I'm just always curious, because you did mention it yesterday when we did the first part of the interview. You did mention you weren't sure at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, at the time you weren't married, so that's why when you first arrived there, you were just kind of like
the defensive coordinator at Florida International FIU, where Butch Davis is. He was my safeties coach at Utah State. His name is Jeff Kopp, and I saw online like 2 years ago they needed a defensive GA or something like that, and so I hit him up and I was like, hey, I'm going to take that position. And he was like, are you being serious with me right now? And I was like, yes, I'm being serious. He's like, you're dead set. You want to do this. He's like, it's yours if you want it. I guarantee you I can get you it. I was like, yep. And he's like, wait a minute. Didn't you just get married? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I'm not letting you do this. Literally. He was like, you're not doing this.
That's actually probably for the best. I mean, you talk about you having your circle of coaches, how important that's been. Yeah. That might be the one that's kind of that moment that you just kind of realize, like, maybe I should stay.
I mean, it's a phenomenal profession, right? Obviously, if you are successful at it, you can be taken care of financially a lot. But it's talking to the coaches that I know at the Division I level. They say the hardest part about it is you're always moving, and it takes a toll on your kids when they got to go meet new friends for the third time in 4 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We didn't move because of coaching. We just moved, but I can tell you from my own experience, that was the hardest part about growing up.
And I want my daughter to go to River Valley when she's a freshman, and I want her to graduate here.
Yeah, walk across that gray turf and get a diploma.
Exactly. spike her thing on the ground.
I literally don't think I'll ever be able to let it go that you guys have gray turf, because I think it's one of the coolest colored turfs I think I've seen so far. And we're talking there's red, green, blue, yellow.
Awesome. Got the big falcon in the middle.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So what's been, your biggest aha moment as a coach? What was the thing that the moment you realized the things that your coaches used to do to you as a player is what you're doing to your kids, and that you were like, the thing you hated?
Yeah. When Coach Humphers came his first year, all the stuff he used to do and I used to hate, and I used to be like, why did you do that? Why is he doing that? And then he would do it again right when he got here, and I was like, oh, now I see another different, as a coach, I see why he did that. I see why he motivated us like that. I see why he had this talk with us, I see why we decided to do this a certain way. And so I honestly, I had a couple aha moments before, but there's the aha, or it's dawned. I like to say, gosh, it finally dawned on me. Like, I've said that to Coach Humphers probably 50 times. Oh, it dawned on me why you did that. It dawned on me, like, I know why you did that now. So it's really cool. Like I said, seeing it from a different angle, being a coach around Coach Humphers, and I was a player, around him. I loved him, but man, he made us work our butts off, and I got mad at him a couple times for all the stuff we had to do. But now as a coach, you see why, and it's like, okay, I get it.
I get it now. Yeah, definitely. I'm with you on that. All right, then this one's a little more interesting then.
Okay.
If you were a player under your own coaching,
Okay.
how do you think your career would have turned out if you were playing under yourself as a coach? Do you think you'd be exactly where you were, or do you think maybe you'd have been better, or
I
maybe
think I would have
you?
loved me as a coach because of how I valued offensive linemen and how I valued being a lineman, but I'd get really annoyed with the volume of my voice because
Understandable.
you let me tell you, when I'm coaching when I'm coaching practice or in a game, there people on campus know I'm coaching.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. You're an ex lineman, and you have that little bit of that. I mean, you were taught by old school guys
Yep.
where if you're not yelling, you're not coaching.
Yep.
It's
Yep. Exactly.
awesome. Well, so we're gonna we're gonna move away from your coaching because obviously, now we are caught up to where you are today.
Yep.
You guys are back with COVID. You guys are ready to run it. Full bore. How do you think? Obviously, we're not there yet, but what do you think is your projection for this season? Like, how do you think you guys are gonna do?
Well, we got a lot of guys coming back. We had 5 sophomores on our varsity last year, so they're going to be juniors this year. And we got a lot returning. Honestly, we lost some studs, but these guys have been working hard, and if we get the opportunity to play, I think we're going to build on I think we went 6-3. I can't remember, but we're just going to continue to get better because we have our whole backfield coming back. We've got 5 or 6 guys on defense coming back, and our younger group coming in, the JV team from last year, they got some studs. So,
Yeah.
The future is very bright here at River Valley. For the next couple of years, we should be pretty good at football if I don't mess it up.
Fair enough. I understand that. All right. Well, now let's have a little bit of fun. All right. You already did give your pick 'em. I was going to do this anyways, but your pick 'em beat me to it.
Yeah.
So that's your upset pick of the week. But what about the other 3 games? You're looking at the Ravens Bills game. You're looking at.
I'm taking an old school Ravens run in the playoffs like they do every 4 years, like they always do.
All right.
I'm taking the Ravens. I know AJ's wife's going to kill me.
And Kathleen, if you heard that, he said it this time. It wasn't
Kathleen,
me.
I apologize. I'm taking the Ravens. Please don't yell at me.
Yeah.
I'm going to take – you can't beat Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau at this time of year. I'm taking Green Bay as much as I hate to say that, being a Lions fan.
And then the matchup of the old heads. You got the Browns, but then you got the matchup of the old heads down there in New Orleans. It's going to be Tom Brady and.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Saints have beaten them already twice, right?
I think it was just. I think it was both times. I'm gonna look it up real fast.
Let's look that up because. The old saying, it's hard to beat a team twice. It's almost impossible to beat a team 3 times.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't know the answer if they 1-1 or did they both.
Oh, they wouldn't give me the schedule, would they? You type in same schedule, and then it's just like, nah, man, we don't need that.
I know one time the Saints beat them bad on Monday night. I remember watching that game.
All right. Here we go. So let's see. Going back to the beginning of the season, yes, Saints beat them on the first game of the season, and they beat them 38-3 and 34-23. So 38-3 was the second game.
I'm gonna take the Bucs then.
All right. So you're gonna go Tom Brady and the Bucs, get the upset with Antonio Brown and all those weapons on the outside.
Yeah, and all those weapons they have. Yes, they got a lot. Jeez Louise.
What would you do with an offense like that? Like if you had
Bucs, Ravens, Browns. And Packers.
All right. Honestly, I can't lie. Those are pretty much where I'm sticking with as well. I don't know about the Browns one, and that's just because I honestly in Patty I trust at this point in time. Like
I do too, but professional sports is so weird. It always happens, right? It always happens.
There's always got to be one, and honestly, I keep looking at it. It's either going to be the Ravens are going to upset the Bills, or the Browns are going to upset the Chiefs, and I'm like. To me, I think the Ravens are obviously a better choice because of the run game, and it's going to be snowing.
Yep.
And then in the other side of things, that's
the thing with the Ravens offense. Like, it's perfect for playoff football. Run the ball, right, and play great defense.
Yeah, and I love Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong, I love everything.
Oh, yeah.
I think
the real deal.
I do think he took a step too early, and maybe this is the point where we see him.
Yeah.
Maybe come back down to earth after his borderline MVP season. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think he deserves MVP noms, or do you think
it's Aaron Rodgers, man?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that a typical Aaron Rodgers? Oh, all right, you're going to draft a guy in the first round and try to replace me? Watch this.
Yeah, dude. I've been saying it all year. It's amazing. Like literally everybody wrote Aaron Rodgers off at the beginning of the year. Yeah, he'll have a 9-7 season, and
Yep.
he'll come. Here he is, MVP,
Yep.
best team in the
blows
league.
my mind. I get it. I mean, the guys from Utah State, Jordan Love, let's go. But the Packers were one game away from playing in the Super Bowl, and then they drafted a quarterback in the first round where there was a guy by the name of Justin Jefferson was still available.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks. Honestly, I have so many questions about that Packers draft. Like, why do you do that? Why'd you also take A.J. Dillon?
Yeah,
I mean, you have Aaron Jones there.
And then they don't play him. Literally, he got less than 100 carries this year.
Yeah,
first pick in the second round.
He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but not for the Packers.
Yeah,
it's like watching Trent Richardson go back out there again.
Not when they have Aaron Jones and Williams, right? They're Jamal Williams. Yeah,
it's so disappointing. I something about the Packers. I've never been a big fan of them, but it's just I always question a lot of their moves, and Aaron Rodgers is what he is.
I think it really shows us how good Aaron Rodgers is.
Yeah, look, I've made some bad Aaron Rodgers jokes in my time, but at the end of the day, it's like Nick Saban for me. I'm just like at the end of the day, he's that good.
Absolutely.
But man, I do appreciate you coming on, doing both parts with me. Is there anything I forgot? Anything I left out that you want to talk about?
You did a fantastic job, man. You went over everything and more so. So, like I said, you
say that now, but I'm gonna get a text in like 45 minutes. You know what, man? I forgot.
I know, right? I got to do this again. I just can't. Like I said, I can't thank you enough, my man, for letting me be on here and helping you guys and just hanging out. This is easy for me. I can talk sports 24/7, 365. It's something I love. It's easy to talk about this stuff. Easy for me to reminisce on my days in high school and college, and now the coaching. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, honestly. So I know you guys are gonna kick ass and take names on this thing, and this thing's gonna blow up. So I'm just lucky to be on it. Why you guys are still not a household name.
I'll take it if it blows up even a modicum from where we are. I'll take it. Honestly, you've done more coming on than we did bringing you on, because you did bring an extra aspect to this that we hadn't had before, and getting a former player, getting a former current coach, not former coach. Sorry, not trying to write your your retirement speech today, but no, getting a former player, getting a coach, and look, man, I love having you on. This has been fantastic, and I honestly, we're trying to get you back on again. I don't know when. I can't give you a guarantee like on air, you're coming back, but I do think fantastic, man, and honestly, I can't wait to see what you guys do this year.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, and then honestly, everybody out there listening, obviously, if you guys have missed part 1, it will come out tomorrow, so Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, or you can wait until the YouTube comes live, 2 p.m. Eastern time as well on Friday after this airs, and we will have the full part 1, part 2 put together, so you'll be looking at about hour and 40 minutes worth of watching us goof around and have a lot of fun.
Yep.
So, everybody, thank you for tuning in, and if you guys haven't already, check out our Twitter. You can find all our updates on there. Be sure to check out River Valley's Twitter as well. You guys do have an athletic page, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So you guys do put all your updates, and so check that out as well. I'd say follow Brennan on Twitter, but he is not on Twitter, so don't do that.
I'm not a Twitter guy.
Awesome, guys. But until next time, everybody. See ya.